What's going on, guys? AJ here from Atmosphere Tactics and Gear, coming at you with a video here specifically for new gun owners and people maybe considering carrying a firearm for the first time. Just want to go over a few basics, uh, cover a couple topics here, just to get your mind wrapping around some things that you should know and some things that you kind of have to prepare for and commit to um, in you know owning a gun and carrying a gun. So uh, I guess a question that a lot of people ask that don't know much about guns or don't carry a gun would often be why. Why do I need a gun? And there's a lot of answers for that, but I guess the best answer would have to be to have another tool in the toolbox. And personally, when I leave my house, I bring my phone with me, I bring my keys with me, I bring my wallet, I bring my pocket knife, I bring my gun, I bring maybe an extra jacket, because these are all things that I might need according to where I'm going. You never know. But that being said, um, that's kind of the best answer, I guess, or the most logical answer, maybe. Uh, so to kind of break into topics of discussion, I'm gonna melt them down to three major points, and the first one is going to be firearm safety and firearm legalities. Now, for firearm safety, that is the most important aspect about owning a gun and or carrying a gun, because you want to be able to have your firearm safe and secure and keep it out of reach and access to those that you do not want to be accessing it, whether it's on you in your vehicle or in your house. This includes, your kids or guests or people you come in contact with that you may or may not know. Um, you know, Firearm safety is key. Basic firearm safety, not a lot of people know about. Don't put your finger on the trigger until you are ready to fire the weapon. Do not point the weapon in any direction that you do not tend to destroy. That is a very common one. Those are two very common ones. Those are the two basics. Um, the legalities. Now, I'm not an attorney. I'm not here to provide you with any sort of legal advice. You have to do your own research on your state and federal laws to see what applies to you if you're thinking about being a gun owner for the first time or carrying a firearm for the first time as well. Now, obviously, if you're going to be concealing and carrying, which I highly recommend that option rather than outside the waistband or carrying in a visible holster. We'll get more into that later, but you have to have a permit to conceal and carry a firearm. So make sure you go and take your course. There's plenty of options out there. Again, do your research, and you know if you're going to be carrying, concealed, like I said, your state and federal laws are very important. Now, just a few things that a lot of people don't think about, I guess, when carrying a firearm when they're out and about would be, where you can and cannot carry. Any federal building, you cannot carry a firearm in. Businesses, they can determine by optional choice. So, smaller businesses or corporate businesses or whatever, um, you know, most will allow you to carry, especially if you're in a state that, has concealed carry. Um, but there are some that, they'll have a postage on, it should be at the front of their building, and it'll let you know, it'll say, no firearms or weapons allowed, in the building or on the premises or whatever. Now, obviously, schools and libraries are a given. You can't carry firearms there. You can't have a firearm on the premises. Um, but businesses are optional. So, you can be the judge of that. Me personally, I am not going to disarm myself just to go and support a business that doesn't want me there in the first place with my firearm. So I'm not going to make that sacrifice. I'm not going to support those businesses. That's just my personal opinion. That's just my, thing, and you're entitled to your own. So, um, aside from that, uh, traffic stops, with interactions with police officers, say you get pulled over, big thing that no one really thinks about in the event of carrying a firearm. The one thing that's going to help you out big time and make your interaction go a lot smoother is if you know, notify and let that officer know that you are armed. Now, me, I've been pulled over before when I have my firearm on me, and the first thing that I say is, I greet them and, hey, how's your day going? I always keep my hands on the steering wheel or visible where they can see them. Um, and the first thing that should be out of your mouth after you greet them should be, I just want you to be aware that I am armed. How do you want to proceed? And I can guarantee you that that officer is going to have a lot more respect for you and is going to sincerely appreciate that, because that shows them that you care about officer safety. Now, whether you back the badge or whatever, that's a totally different subject. But I can guarantee you that that traffic stop, that detention is going to go a lot smoother for you. And just be sure that you follow every instruction to make that officer feel safe and so that you can feel safe as well. So, furthermore, a big thing to consider is firearm insurance. Now, I carried a firearm for a few years before I even had firearm insurance. I do now, and I'll never give it up. I've never had to use my USCCA. That's where I now there's a couple other companies, but aside from that, the point is I've never had to use it, and I want to keep it that way because I carry a firearm for a last resort measure. Um, you know, the best legal advice that anyone could give you is don't be G.I. Joe. Now, it can be your moral duty to protect the lives of innocents if, for whatever, you're involved in a mass shooting, or there's an act of terrorism or an act of violent criminal activity or whatever. It can be your moral duty, but if at any cost you're you can flee that situation, you can get out of that situation, do so. Do everything in your power to get out of harm's way, get to safety, and dial 911. That's that's the best advice that anybody can give you. You don't want to have to use your firearm. And you don't want people knowing that you have a firearm on you. That shouldn't be anybody's business. Now, people who personally know me know that I carry a firearm, and that's okay. But in the common public that I walk amongst, I don't want everybody knowing that I carry a firearm. And I see it all too often that a lot of people, when they first get a gun, they feel that sense of power, and they feel cool and blah blah blah, and they want to show it off and they want to flash it and blah blah blah. We've all been there. But as you mature in the gun world, just best of advice, just keep it discreet. That's all I can say. Concealing a firearm is your best friend. It's the element of surprise. I'm not opposed to carrying outside the waistband, carrying in a duty holster if you're at the range or, whatever, but you don't need to be doing it in a casual manner. Um, I highly encourage you to conceal it rather than open carry. Now, those are two things that have more details too that you can research. The pros and cons to those two on your own time, um, but The second topic of conversation that I want to cover here is training. Don't even go out and buy a firearm if you can't commit to the expense of ammunition and you can't commit to the time of going out at least like once a month or once every other month or something like that. Me, I used to train twice a month, if not three times a month, before the whole ammo crisis happened. It's starting to come back now, and it's still a little high on cost of ammo. But I hate to put it to you that harsh. I'm not trying to deter you, but just don't carry a firearm if you don't want to train. If I know of a few people actually that are firearm owners, or they carry a firearm and they just leave it there to collect dust, and they don't even go out and train with it. The goal is to be proficient. You need to know how to properly operate that firearm. You need to know how to properly load it, to maintain it, to field strip it and take it apart and clean it. You need to know how to be accurate with it, how to clear malfunctions if that happens. These are all big things that you need to know in order to not only own a gun but to carry a gun. Um, Another big topic of conversation would be firearm expense. Now, the expense of owning a gun, whether you already own a gun, or you're thinking about going out and buying your first gun, um, or you maybe you own a few rifles and shotguns and you're a hunter or whatever, and you want to go out and buy a handgun to carry. The expense of owning a carry firearm or just a gun in general doesn't end with just buying the firearm. When you go to buy your firearm from whether it's a local gun shop or a retailer or whatever, I would highly encourage you to budget about $1,000 at least, um, to cover a wide variety of things you're going to need as far as your overall investment in that firearm. Because whether you go out and buy a budget gun, which I don't recommend, by the way, I'll get into that later, but or you go and spend $400 or $500 on a decent handgun. You buy a Glock or a Smith and Wesson or a Sig or whatever you go with, whatever is comfortable for you. um, you know you have to invest in ammo, you have to invest in accessories, extra magazines, maybe a flashlight, holsters. That's a big one. You want a good sturdy holster, that's going to be safe and that's going to be reliable. Lock boxes, safes. These are all things to consider that not a lot of new gun owners even really factor in until after they've already bought the gun. So keep these things in mind. And as I said, I don't want to deter you at all. I try to be as supportive as I possibly can and try to welcome new gun owners. I think that more people should carry a gun. More people should own guns as long as you're legally allowed to, and that you're a member of society, a good citizen of society. Obviously you don't want to. I don't want any madmen owning firearms. If you have any mental defects or felonies or whatever, I don't want you owning a gun. But I promote people who don't. If you don't have felonies, if you don't have a bad history, if you don't have any mental illnesses, I highly encourage you to own a gun, because that just creates a safer society all the way around, as long as you're proficient and you're safe with that firearm. Trust me, it's going to make the bad guys think twice, if not three times, about committing an act of terrorism or, a bad situation if there are more people in society who carry firearms. Just some food for thought. It's a fact. It's a given fact. I'm here for you. If you have anything that you need, you can email me at atmosphere tactics and gear or atmospheretg@gmail.com. Also, if you have any questions, go ahead, feel free to leave some comments down on the video. If this video was helpful for you. If you learned anything or you just appreciated my content, I'd really appreciate that thumbs up. Go ahead, like the video, subscribe to my channel for further content. I'm a fairly new channel and I'm trying to put out as much content as I can when I have time available. So any support you can give me would be really, really appreciated. Um, and in closing, guys, just do your research before you invest. Um, that applies to anything in life. Research before that investment. And in the meantime, until the next video, you guys stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Have a nice day, guys.